Hey, everyone here at the Investing Stuff You Should Know podcast. Thank you for joining us with another exciting episode. We have a really exciting guest with us today, Madhavi. Has a really awesome wealth. She's a wealth strategist with some unique perspective. So I do have a bio, but I'm just going to let her explain what she's doing and a little bit of her background, and we'll just take it from there. So Madhavi, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Johnny, for having me. This is very interesting. And just an introduction about me. Thanks for letting me uh, um, just tell about me. I'm a president and the wealth strategist at Think Outside the Stocks, and Think Outside the Stocks is essentially a commercial real estate focused company, but I believe in more of a holistic perspective. So I have a twofold approach for my clients. One, making their savings efficient with an infinity banking system and diversifying their investment outside of the stock, of course, with diversified fund focuses on different aspects of commercial real estate and sometimes outside of the commercial real estate as well.
Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome. And I see that you also, to give just the folks like why would they listen to you and I discuss this, give us a little bit of the things that you've done here. So we can see here in the bio that you have you as an active syndicator, you have nearly 800 units, 170 plus million assets under management. Talk to us a little bit about that. And I see some ATM machines. All those things are fascinating, but just give us a high level the things you've done. So that's important.
Yeah, that's definitely. So multifamily being the biggest asset class in my portfolio. Why? Because I believe in multifamily. I believe in the multifamily fundamentals very, very strongly. And that's because number one reason that housing is a need. It's not a want. It's not going anywhere. And the way we have seen kind of the supply and demand differences over the period of last decades, multifamily will go strong. So right now there's a little bit choppy water around multifamily, and we will talk about it if you want in a few minutes. But with multifamily, that's where I believe the fundamentals are. And that's why I have, that about 790 units, 170 millions, with a
Yeah.
strategic partnership with other syndication team. Because I think syndication, it takes a village. It's not a single person's job, and it's good to have the team in your corner because if something happens to somebody, there are different aspects of this entire syndication, the entire syndicate, that everybody is kind of pro in their way and they take care of that particular individual responsibility. And that's what I love about syndication. And you can do the syndication in multifamily, you can do syndication in essentially entire aspect of the real estate, the commercial real estate. And that's when moving from that single family mentality, being that landlord, actively managing it. And some people say that, hey, we have the property manager managing it, but it's still, they are gonna want to calling you about, having issues with that property. So I tried my investors to get away that from that single family home mentality, away from it, and truly show them what the passive investor could be. Now, again, like I was saying, that syndication could be about anything, right? So ATM, for example, it's kind of your non-traditional real estate, right? Because it's not really a real estate. The asset here is that ATM machine where you can, go and draw some cash and when you need the cash, right? The way it works that every transaction that it goes through, there is a surcharge to that transaction, the cash transaction. And you may have also noticed when you actually used it. So $2.50, $3.50, something like
Right.
that. There's just that intense volume of the transaction, and over with the foot traffic, it's kind of created that cash flow that passive investors can have the income from it. So typically there's a lot of misconception about those things, that oh, ATMs are owned by the bank. So, why would I invest in ATM machines?
Right.
But that's not true. And we think outside the stocks. My philosophy is not just outside of the stock, but kind of looking at outside of the box and bringing that different approaches to the investors, to the community around us. Because hey, you and me, people who are interested in commercial real estate, we are on the active side of it. We have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to take it to people who don't know about it.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Madhavi. And then not just a responsibility, but like I think we both, at least I speak for myself, a passion. Like I literally am motivated to get these kinds
Yeah.
of opportunities to spread among my peers and the other professionals that I left my W-2 about a year and a half ago as well. and I'm actually excited to share this. And like, this is an incredible opportunity. Would you like to know more about that? So yeah, it's not just a responsibility, but also a passion. So both those things are strong
Yeah.
motivators for folks like us, I think.
I love that, Johnny, what you said, and a couple of things that I'm going to draw out from what you said. That passion, right? And that's the place of the purpose and passion that we have to come. So I come across a lot of syndicators, people who are raising capital for investments. And I ask them that, why are you doing it? What's your big why in it,
Yeah.
right? So for me, there is a big why, and I'll share that with you in a minute. But what happens is, if what you are doing, and this is almost like a second career option, right? For you, for me, it's kind of a second career option. If at this point we don't do it right, if there is no purpose and passion driving us, this is going to feel dry. This is going to feel dry in 3 to 5 years, and then it will be back to that start. That, okay, what am I going to do, and who am I going to be when I grow up, kind of a thing,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I always advise people who are starting new that be driven by that purpose and passion. And my purpose and passion behind this, Johnny, is when I came to this country, 9,000 miles away from my roots. I literally uprooted my entire life from my country to entire different country. So it's not like just a move across the state or something, right?
Yes.
And many are actually that. Many of them are immigrants. I completely started my life with my husband. We didn't have kids back then.
Yeah.
2 suitcases and maybe I think a couple of hundred
Yes. So
converted
just
dollars.
a quick pause there, Madhavi. So I wanted you're actually it's a beautiful segue that you just did naturally, but I just want to make a verbal note here for the folks listening. So Madhavi and I talked about this before the show. Like, we want to actually make
Yeah.
a particular, I guess kind of a segment there of like, her immigration story is amazing and inspiring, and I want to just make a point of that. But please proceed exactly where you were. I just wanted to make just a verbal note there.
Yeah,
But
thank you. I
yeah,
just kind of got carried away when
very
you
very
said that
smooth, by the
about
way.
the
But yeah,
purpose
that's I
and
just want to make a
passion.
note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much. So yeah, and when we restarted our life in this country, the visa issues is a true struggle. Many
Yes.
immigrants, especially the wives, they struggle a lot because they come here on a dependent visa, and I came on here on dependent visa. I got fortunate that I got my dependent visa converted to the work visa, and I could use my skills. I have a master's in computer management, right? So I could utilize my skill, and I feel that fortunate that I could do that. Many wives, in this country, the community that I come from, or otherwise also, high skilled engineers and computer engineers, they just couldn't work because that visa issue didn't get translated. So that was really
Wow.
sad. So here I am working at one of the top 5 consulting companies. And most of the time that I have worked in 15, 16 years in the IT industry, I worked with one of the top 5 consulting. And I feel like I'm living a dream now, right? I have
Yes.
this top 5 consulting job.
Yes.
I have my kids, purchased an American home, and just living a dream, right? And then 2008 happened. In 2008, we actually, so me and my husband worked very interestingly on different jobs at the same company. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
me and my husband worked at the same project with the same company for many years, 13 years almost. And when I was pregnant with my second child, that's when around 2008, both of us just got notified that next Friday is going to be your last day at this project.
Seriously?
And we
Just
were,
that's it? Just that's it?
yeah,
Just boom.
yeah. And it was, we were just baffled that what's gonna happen, right? So
Yes.
he starts traveling from California to Austin, and I'm like about to give the birth to my son, the second child. And that's when, things were just going crazy in the housing world, right? The primary home that we had purchased, that American dream, right? So we
Yeah.
lost our home to 2000 market,
Oh,
the
wow.
2008 market. So that was, very sad. And we moved
Yes.
from California to Austin, kind of restarted our life all over again,
Yeah.
6 years later, then we came to this country. So here in Austin, now we restarted, we kind of, growing our kids. But around 2015, so with my second child, my health kind of started getting deteriorated. And there was extensive, I mean, corporate world is extensive, as you may understand, 50,
Yes.
60 hours of work week. It's not really that corporate world deteriorated my health. Something started happening maybe around pregnancy or something, right? Chronic illness. And I have been living this with this chronic illness for 15 years now. But 2015 came to a point where I would get up, get ready, and just collapse on the bed.
Oh my God.
I, yeah, I just couldn't get myself up, my body up, physical body up,
Yes.
and go to just go to work, just drive
Yeah.
to office and be there, right? So my husband and we talked about it, and he was like, "You got to put a stop somewhere."
Yeah.
So I pulled that plug out. And by the way, by this time, I was working from home for last 2 years, right? So even, getting up and sitting in that chair and being there, sitting there, 10 to 12 hours
Yeah.
a day,
Yeah.
that was just impossible. So then I just pulled that plug and I said that, okay, I need to focus on my health. I went to India actually a few times now and stayed in the Ayurvedic hospital, which is the entire treatments and everything for like over a month.
Was that is that
So
like is that just a quick side throw there? Is that something like they don't have in the US, or is it like just more economical? Like what was that?
So back in India, right, these practices have been going for years. Sometimes
Hmm.
they're just going through hundreds of years. So if I'm putting my health into somebody's hand, I want somebody who has been doing it for like a number of years, right? Has
Sure.
that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
track record, the track record that we do check in our sponsors, right? So that's kind
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
track
Same.
record.
Same
And
thinking. Very consistent.
yeah,
Yes.
and India is where this is created, right? The whole yoga and the Ayurveda, like the alternate healing, right?
Yeah.
So that's the reason. But anyway, coming back to it, so when I pulled that plug, and now the six-figure earning income slashed, right? And I have my daughter in front of me. She's in middle school. So I kept looking at her and I am like, oh my God, I don't want to make choices based on what she wants to choose for college is based on our financials. So
Yes.
that's when I started my the syndication journey, my real estate journey in the reverse order to create my W2 income, that financial freedom in a kind of a reverse order.
Yeah.
I came up, yeah, and that's essentially what my why was, why I
Yeah.
came into the real estate.
Yeah. No, that's a that thank you. I mean, that's a everyone's story to their why they got into real estate and funds and then some of these alternative spaces, which they just alternative in the sense that the less people know about them, the more. And I think we're both agreed on this idea that these actually are more fundamentally better for your average American household. And that's why we're so passionate to share it. But they're just
Right.
alternatives. Like it scares people. It's like, just no, just because it's not mass produced. It's like mass produced food is not the best for you. The more organic, better, higher quality, more home prepared, typically it's better. It's kind of a similar analogy. It's like this is actually really, really wholesome if you learn the basics. And that's where I
Yeah.
want to go next. So, and that's kind of your whole company is think outside the stocks. So give us the
Yep.
holistic approach there. And of course, you kind of give us the beginning baby steps, or maybe adult steps into where this would go. And then of course you heard about real estate, got into real estate, but then at some point, Mavi, you founded the company or kind of grew the company. Give us that timeline and how you were able to, or why you've pulled these different pieces into that, and why you feel like that's kind of a holistic. Basically, it's a full it's a buffet of all the things you might need. Is that a fair
Yeah. Great.
assessment?
Yeah. Great
I
question,
don't know
and
why
great
I don't know
way to
why I'm
put
so
it.
full of food analogies today, but I am.
You must be
Sorry.
getting hungry. You're getting me hungry.
Probably, yeah.
But great question and great way to put at it, right? Why did I start think outside the stocks, right? So think outside the stocks is not really just thinking outside the stocks. And don't get me wrong, Johnny. I have nothing against the stock market, right? There are people who do great, and I have tremendous respect for those people.
Absolutely, yes.
But then there are more people who are not successful and they're losing their hard earned money there. And that really hurts my heart that, there's a hard earned money. And I was one of them, right? I would like wake up in the middle of the night and look at my portfolio, and it's like, okay, I forgot to check this today. So let me check if it is going to be fine, or, how bad it is or something like that, right?
Yes.
So it's not outside the stock approach, but it is that outside the box approach too. Now I have been always an outside the box thinker all my life, and I kind of think about like 10 steps ahead about such some things. And my husband, my kids sometimes say that, why would you even think about it that way? Why would you,
So
what made
the
you think
distance
about
between
that?
the distance what you're saying now and the 10 chess moves you made ahead is so disconnected, or at least to the normal, I guess, mind, that people really have
Right.
trouble drawing that line between the two, which is probably like a line like this, huh?
Yeah, and then that comes naturally to me. And like you, I come from the project management background too, right? So in project management, and I did for public sector, and there used to be like plethora of documents like this whole RFPs and stuff like that. And I would remember something I have read like few years back, and it's like, oh, we are not gonna do that because that's kind of crosses the other thing that we said over there, right? So something like that, right? But that outside the box thinking is what I wanted to bring in, right?
Yes.
When I started with real estate, I thought that the rental real estate, being a landlord, is passive because the code says so, but it's not passive, right?
Yes.
So I started very traditionally, the rental real estate, Airbnb, even I still have that Airbnb. But I came across a syndication quite accidentally. I didn't quite understand it first, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was eager
It's not
to,
intuitive. It's not like you're going around like this makes total sense. It's like this is kind of
oh,
weird.
yeah.
Like what? Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny. In fact, 2008, we lost our primary house to real estate.
Oh yeah.
It felt
Yeah.
like a punch in the gut for me that, oh my God, I'm not gonna go into real estate, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was very skeptical about it first. I was like very cautious about it. But syndication, when I came to know about it and kind of understood it, I realized, oh my God, so all these people around me in my city or in my community, probably they were doing it and I did not know about it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with this infinity banking strategy. Now, infinity banking strategy is replacement of your savings, right? So it's making your savings efficient, and it's kind of a trick of playing the compounding interesting.
Yeah,
Compound interesting is
let me make a note here, a show note here, Madhavi, and that is, so we're talking at a high level about the interesting perspectives and approach that Madhavi has created inside her company. Think outside the stocks was, like she said, it's really more
yeah,
of a creative think outside the box, which is a wonderful play on words. So she discussed the syndication piece. Now we're talking about the infinity banking strategy. And I have done that as well. And I'm not an educator or a leader. I keep it just between my wife and I. But anyway, so she's doing that and has done that. But please go ahead. I just want to make that kind of that bookmark there.
that's perfect. So I came across the infinity banking strategy, which basically making the savings efficient, and the compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. So you basically harness that compound interest, put it into the a structure which is covered by life insurance. So the framework is life insurance, and mind me, it's not your ordinary life insurance, and you have implemented, so you know that it has
Yes.
to be. First, it has to be a whole life product. Second, it has to be structured correctly when implementing. You cannot go back to your life insurance policy and do that. So when I realized that there is this strategy which is called the be your own bank or create your banking structure, and when I heard the life insurance word attached to it, I was like, oh no way, I'm not gonna do this because
So
life insurance for
this
some
is your
reason,
second fear that you've overcome, I think, right? First it was real estate where you got smacked across the face, your family was kicked out, and
yeah,
then all of a sudden, like, discover real estate, like I'm going to be what was my downfall. Now you hear about life insurance, and it's like, oh my God, there's some scam going on here, some like scam number
right,
two we have to overcome, right? So we're
right.
crossing a lot of hurdles here.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, my family was not kicked out from the first home. We just, lost it to the
So
market, kind of
okay,
moved from that.
I was over dramatizing, but yes,
No,
I
no, no,
apologize.
that's okay.
Yes.
That's okay. So essentially, when I'm looking at the structure, which is based on the life insurance product, I was very skeptical. The second thing that's, I would say, my superpower is I have a math in my name. I call it Madhavi, as I was just explaining to you earlier. But I'm a very numbers person. I'm a math major, right? I'm a very numbers person. When I like something, I go back to my spreadsheets and kind of prove it that, okay, what it's not like I'm not getting carried away. So for syndication, I kind of looked at it and I'm like, okay, it kind of makes sense, right? I try to understand the underwriting model, stuff like that. But when it comes to the banking system, I was very skeptical. And I'm like, when I get very, very skeptical, I again have to go back to my spreadsheets, my numbers, kind of try to prove myself right or wrong. And in the infinity banking, I proved myself wrong. And I was like, oh my God, this stuff really works, right?
Yes.
So now I'm looking at this plethora of scenarios and stuff. So I was looking at what if my savings in terms of if I don't have bonds, I keep savings in here. What if the education money for my kids are here? What if my retirement is here? What if I want to kind of hedge it for my stock market portfolio? So I created those different scenarios. And I'm looking at this scenarios that I created, and I'm like, oh my God, I have educated myself really, really thoroughly. Now I can use this to educate someone else. And that education is really that true purpose and passion behind that, behind the starting sin. Sorry, cut that again. Yeah, so that the education is the true passion and purpose behind forming Think Outside the Stocks. The
Yes.
Think Outside the Stocks is about providing this education, the things that I learned, that I wanted to bring it out. And hey, one thing I'm really, really feel sad about it is that as a community, we do not talk about our finances, our investments quite so often. I mean, you and me are in a circle that we just basically talk about investments and things that we have learned or kind of failed at. But outside of
We're
this
fluent.
circle,
It's fluent. It's commonplace. We get used to it. It's like, oh, we all talk about this. Everyone knows about these things. And as soon as you
yes,
step outside our own bubble, if you would,
it's just a
people are like, holy, like what, like what, like
yeah,
they're not,
yeah.
you're not even speaking English or whatever whatever you're trying to communicate.
Yeah, so essentially that really hurts me that as a community we do not share our successes, especially our failures. So
Yes.
for me, when I found out about these strategies, it made me really, really restless. I was like, okay, I want to just go on the top of my roof and shout out about I found syndication, I found infinity banking, or I failed at this, rental real estate because I had this horrible tenant, by the way, which is story for some other day. But that's what happened. My purpose of starting Think Outside the Stocks is to get these two strategies, which is that kind of an 80-20 impact, right? Apply this 20% strategy and make that 80% impact.
Yes.
That's what I want to do with Think Outside the Stocks. And that's why by making that 2-degree difference in their financial trajectory, I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to change that financial trajectory of one family at a time and thousands more to go. And this is what I want to do by, just making that difference in their lives.
Well, I love that. I can just sense your passion and your, just, I think it just naturally motivates you. And I can just sense that coming
Yeah.
through that,
Yeah.
yes, it's exciting. Yes. We all, it's a business and we make money, but also it's like, also this is actually really, really powerful. And that's very, very motivating. And it's great to be part of here. So
But that was not my, that yeah, when you say that, Johnny, in a way, I faced my third hurdle when I started Think Outside the Stocks, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's actually a great point too. So let's talk about the third, I guess, maybe, I don't know if you think of it like this, but like the other leg. So we have multifamily, real estate, we have infinity banking, and of course then we have the ATM machine,
Right.
I guess, opportunity, to kind of like you maybe balance all this out. What does that ATM cover or kind of like bolster that the other two do not, and why do you feel like that's kind of this is a nice balance?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that balance in a little bit.
Sure.
But let me talk about that hurdle, the third hurdle that I
Absolutely.
faced, right? So the third hurdle, what actually inside me, it was not an outside hurdle, it was inside me.
Is this hurdle, I don't want to miss here. This is like the starting of this business. Is that what we're talking about now?
Yes, we're
Okay,
talking
yeah,
about the
that's
business now.
and I completely skipped that one, but that's actually a huge one too. Because anytime anyone starts a business, it's not a small thing. It's not just like all of a sudden this business just like came into being like a grass grew. It's like, no, this is a huge thing. But please go ahead.
Yeah, and thank you, Johnny. So here's the third hurdle that I faced. So, like I said, that I come from the place of that purpose and passion, right? So when I'm creating the education, I'm serving the education, I'm providing the education to my, not investors per se to start with, right? So the people who are coming in contact, right? I'm like going in, swinging in. It's like, that's perfect. That just works for me. But my first investment came in, and when I wanted to, bring a set of investors to that investment, that's when I faced my first hurdle. See that part of bringing the capital to investment, and so what we call in our world the capital raise, right? That was really, really hard for me because see, I don't come from the place of where the salesman or the car salesman kind of attitude, right?
Yes, yes,
When
yes.
I went and presented that opportunity on a webinar, and I went and asked them again, remind them again, and you understand, right? You've got to go back and remind them because their life is busy. They just have so many
Correct.
things going on. So I went back first time, I went back second time, and third time. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the question that I asked when I, stated at the start of the show that am I going to feel dry doing this in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
And I asked myself that question. And I'm like, I cannot do that. That's not me natural. They know it's not about those books are all about power of persuasion or closing your deal or, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right? That
always be
whole
closing the
salesman,
sales. And I mean, there's lots of marketing in the sales and all this kind of, it's like some of us, some humans
that's
are
not
designed for
me.
that. And some are
Yeah.
really not, it's not in our DNA. And we're very uncomfortable. So, but tell us
Yeah.
how you work
Yeah.
through that.
And yeah, in fact, I felt like a sellout. I feel like I
Mm,
don't want to do that. I want to stop doing this because I don't want to sell my soul out there. As long as it's an education, I'm fine with it, but I don't want to do this. Right. And that's the time the book Go Giver actually like an angel came to my life. And I don't even remember how, maybe some group, somebody suggested that.
yes, yes.
Um, yeah. And have you read that?
No, I've seen it. I think I've read a couple excerpts and I've seen people, saying this is a great book. And
Oh
I think
my
it's on my
God.
app, my Audible list. But no, I've
You
not
should.
never read myself. No.
The way you are, Johnny, you're just like me, and you're gonna relate to it. You're gonna resonate with it. And so I read that book, and it kind of made like opened my eyes. And now it literally has become my Bible, like live and breathe by Go
Yeah.
Giver, because it talks about kind of laws of success, right? And it talks about the first two laws, which are very dear to me, is that you add massive amount of value to massive amount of people, right? So that's what I was doing with my education. And then it
Wow,
talks
that
about
really seriously, that is really, I literally like I came up with, I've been working on this like core thesis of what does Johnny do? And like that thing,
yeah,
what you just said was literally what I kind of derived, not that I'm so smart, but I kind of derived myself, like help a lot of people, create lots of value, and then, et cetera. But yeah,
yeah,
so that's
and
amazing. You
and
just said
that
that.
yeah, and that's what it is, right? I mean, so every day I tell myself, whatever I'm doing, I ask myself that question. Who am I trying to address this for? What
Yeah.
problem am I trying to solve for that person? And when I'm going in a meeting, when I'm going, like talking to somebody, I will always ask them, and they start talking about whether it's, a sponsor, whether it's an investor, they start talking about, oh, this is what I have done in real estate. And I will just say that, hold on a second. Let me ask you a question that why are
Yes.
you doing this? Let me ask you a question that why are you doing this? What is your bottleneck? What is your problem that you're facing? So I can help you solve that problem. Where do you see yourself, maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line? What is that problem in the future that you want it to be solved that we can start working at it right now? So when I'm trying to solve their problem, add that value, massive amount of value, one person at a time, one family at a time, and replicate that to massive amount of families, that's the way I want to kind of implement my vision, my mission. So this is what solved my problem. And now I just focus on doing what I believe in, doing what my purpose and passion in, and everything is just kind of just opens up a path. And
Yeah.
it's not about you not making money. Everybody makes money, right? So I will make money, the investor will make money. It's not about an individual, it's about rising with the tide together.
Yes.
And that's very, very important. We have to remember that it's about rising with that tide together and getting that successes and staying away from the failures as a community. And that's my vision with Think Outside the Stocks.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And then yeah, that gave you the vision and the framework to give you and the confidence to start the company. Because it was like, what
Yeah.
do we do? Like we all just can like start a company, but then it's like, am I just like you said at the beginning, if the way it's appearing right now is I just go out and hustle people and try to sell stuff, like
Oh,
that sounds
yeah.
that just feels icky. But then now you found
Right.
kind of discovered this not unique, but this special philosophy that applied to you. And then it just kind of like, it was the same. The result is similar, but also the underlying philosophy, the motivation and the reasons why all of a sudden that was like, oh my gosh, this is really me. And I
Yeah.
can find really dig into this and find a lot of satisfaction and help a lot of other people.
Yeah, and we get attracted to the like kind of people, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Johnny, you and me, we have like seen each other in different forums, and we kind of, oh, let's get connected. Let's talk
Yes.
to each other, right?
Yeah.
There's a energy that even through Zoom calls,
Yeah,
it
no,
flows,
that's the
right?
beautiful thing about Zoom. Like we all, I mean, before Zoom, these type of interactions were just much less frequent and and then of course we're much more
Yeah,
comfortable and it's so have all the equipment. So it's been facilitated greatly by technology and COVID. Hey, outside of COVID. So,
Yeah,
so
I'm so
kind of coming
grateful
down
for
to
that.
go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that for that. I'm just going to quickly plug in there that what happened with COVID, that was me since 2015. I'm homebound pretty much 95% of the time. And with Zoom and making this world flat, and after COVID,
Right.
everybody got open to that. And
Yes.
now I can interact and like connect with more people like this. So I'm
That's so
very
wonderful.
grateful
That's a
actually.
wonderful like little side story. So kind of the final chapter to wrap this up, Madhavi. You teased us a little bit, and I want you to explain again what the ATM part of your kind of approach covers,
Right.
or the real the real rocket fuel that adds that stocks doesn't cover really so well, but real estate doesn't doesn't maybe are partially covered, and then of course the infinity banking. So what does ATM do that's very exciting and compelling?
Definitely. So here is how I look at ATM machines, right? If you are thinking about diversification, and when I'm asking my investors that think about outside the stocks, think about the diversification outside the stocks. Now, if I provide them just a multifamily, uh, just do different classes of multifamily, different emerging markets of multifamily, that diversification is gonna hit a roadblock after some point, right? So I had to, step back and look at my vision. Now I come from a tech background, right? So I've learned coding, right? For example, so coding has different languages. Coding has I'm a Sun certified Java programmer, for example. But if I come across some other coding language, the logic behind it is exactly the same. It's
Yeah.
just the semantics. It's just the grammar that changes. So once I have my expertise in multifamily, then evaluating different opportunities is just that you have to kind of focus on that, and you have to learn to evaluate their ways of evaluating it, right? Why I got the ATM machines in my portfolio, and by the way, I've created a customized fund. We think outside the stocks. It's called customized diversified fund. What it does is that I'm bringing in different asset classes, right? So, for example, I'm working on an industrial deal right now, which is the ground up construction.
Yeah.
There's multifamily, there is ATM. So now you think about the same analogy that you apply in the stock market in terms of your risk tolerance and kind of spread for in terms of diversification, right? So now in real estate, if they want to do a consistent cash flow, a slow cash flow, and have the equity at the end, then they can look at the multifamily, they can look at the self storages and other aspects of it. If they want to maybe go in a little bit deeper and not worry about the cash flow, because some of these accredited investors that we deal with, right, they're not worried about the cash flow.
Right.
They really want that big chunk of equity at the end, right? So
Or
they can go into
tax
something.
benefits. Yeah,
Tax benefit,
that's
yeah.
another one. But yeah.
Yes, actually, we will talk about that. But yeah, but then they can go into something which is a new build, which may not provide them any cash flow for 3 years or 2 years, where then when they're building it, and at the end of it, they will have a bigger chunk of equity at the end. Now, ATM, on the contrary, ATM is not that real asset like we talked about, right? It's like your laptop. The laptop kind of goes scrap at the end of that 7 years, right?
Yes.
But during that 7 years, it is going to provide you consistently really, really high cash flow, right? So this is, I'm talking about high 20s, kind of mid 20s
Yeah.
cash
Very
flow, cash on
compelling. I mean,
cash.
if as an investor, if you're the type of investor that wants either just that or at least some of that in your portfolio, or to discuss that,
Yeah.
it's very compelling. That high of cash flow in today's market. So, but yes.
Yeah, and why is that important, right? Because now you are diversifying in terms of what you stay in as an investor, right? One is just pure equity play, which is maybe the new build. One is the kind of a balance of the equity and the cash flow, and the other is just a simple cash flow. Why is it important? Because each of this stream, the income stream, the passive income stream that they're creating, that's going to help them to move towards their financial freedom. They're going to create one stream at a time, and it's a systematic approach. That's what I tell my investors. It's a systematic approach. Create one stream at a time and go look at that. What's your need? How much expenses that you want, and kind of backtrack from there, right? So somebody who wants to quickly create a cash flow, right? That they want to just go part time, or there's just one person earning, and that money is important for them. They can bring that strategy in their life and create that diversification and diversification of the cash flow too. So that's what I'm looking at. Another reason I went for the ATM machine, right? Because we stand in a very interesting times right now. The
Yeah.
recession, the inflation, and the higher interest rate that has kind of created a trifecta that people are so fearful.
Yeah,
People
I
are so
noticed.
fearful.
I
Yeah,
noticed.
I don't blame them. The lenders and investors, they are sitting on the sidelines. They're just deals that used to pencil in so quickly, and you and me know that. Last 2 years, they were just deals floating by,
Yeah,
and now they're not even closing properly, right? So it is important that when there is so much fear in the investor's mind, $3 trillion, that's how much money is sitting in the money market. That
right.
means that's just waiting to be invested. And when we give them something that does not eat away that inflation, so my hardest thing to digest for my investors right now, for me, and I when I say that this is really passion about me, I see their problems and it really hurts me, right? So I'm looking at their money sitting on the sideline, and I'm looking at this high inflation, and it's just eroding their money. So
Yes,
I want to give them an option where it kind of creates a good hedge about that, inflation, as well as there is more recession resistant class, so that we are kind of in a recession right now. So if we go into recession, the money, the cash that's coming out of the ATMs, that's just gonna go on still, right? So we are looking at history, the data. I love numbers, I love data. So history has shown that ATM machines have done really well during the recession, right? So I'm looking at best in class partnership. I'm looking at recession resistant asset classes, and that's the reason why I bought in the ATM machines in my investment in the diversified fund.
that's a beautiful explanation, and thank you for rounding out that, like you said, the trifecta of the different pieces inside kind of your strategy. So
Yeah.
we're at time there. So obviously, there's lots of different other threads we could have pulled on. There's like tax. We could have explained the fund, but for people, obviously, like you said, your passion is that educational space. What is the best place for people to reach out to you and find out more about what you're doing in your company, Madhavi?
Absolutely. So Think Outside the Stocks podcast is coming up. We are
That is
launching
exciting.
in
That's exciting.
mid-February.
Nice.
So if this episode goes live by then, check out for Think Outside the Stocks podcast. And Think Outside the Stocks podcast is going to be about that holistic approach. It's not just going to be about, just multifamily or just commercial real estate. But the way I'm looking at it, right, is that about making that savings efficient. So we will talk about a lot around infinity banking system. We will talk about, this high growth kind of recession resistant asset classes. So we will talk about plethora of asset classes, and we will go and talk to experts and kind of get their take on it, that what to look for as a passive investor, right? So it is important for passive investors to know all that. We will also not just stay there. We will not just talk about saving and investing, but more holistic approach. The tax, how the tax strategies work, how the asset management, sorry, how the asset kind of protection in terms of legal works. How do
Yeah.
you pass this money on the network that you have to next generation smoothly, with estate planning and with life insurance, right? So we will look at just growing, preserving, protecting, and passing this to next generation. So there is going to be a holistic approach. So check out that, and if you want to go check out thinkoutsideTheStocks.com, that's my website. And on my website, you will see there is a guide for passive investors. So if you want to download that, just go, thinkoutsideTheStocks.com slash passive, and just download that guide, and just let me know how I can help you. I can, put this kind of a holistic picture together.
I
So
love
yeah,
that.
I think
I
that's
love that. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful approach. I love what you're doing, the holistic, and you're covering so much areas of a person's life if they obviously whatever they're willing to do. And you're like, hey, we got an opportunity and a solution for a lot of those things. So, anyways, that's beautiful. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone at the Investing Stuff You Should Know podcast for listening to another episode. I got a lot out of this. Obviously, you could tell that we were having a really organic and fruitful, productive conversation. If you like these kinds of
yeah.
podcasts, these kinds of guests, I encourage you to give us leave likes, leave a comment. This all, of course, is on our podcast and as well as our YouTube. So give that a thumbs up. We ask for that. So until next time, thank you, everyone. Madhavi, thank you.
Thank you so much. Such an honor to be here.